A ship sails from point A to point B, which is 15 kilometers from A on a bearing of 42 degrees. The ship then sails to point C, which is 19 kilometers from B on a bearing of 130 degrees. The following diagram shows a sketch of the ship's journey. Right, so here is our diagram. Now part 1 states, on the diagram insert the bearings 42 degrees and 130 degrees. Now remember that the bearing is going clockwise from the north line. So we have 3 options here. We have here, here, and we can take here from here. Now ask yourself, which one of these bearings correspond to 130 and 42. So 42 would correspond to right here, and 130 would correspond to right here. So therefore we can get rid of this one. Let's get rid of that one. So these are our bearings, 42 and 130. That's 1 mark. Right? If you want, you can go ahead and label it. This is B and this is C. And they told us that B is 15 kilometers from A, so we can put 15 kilometers here. And C from B is 19 kilometers. Right? Now, the question is asking us in part 2, calculate the distance between town A and town C. Now, in order to find the distance between town A and town C, we need to find this angle here. We need to work out this angle. Let's change my color. We need to work out this angle here. Now, how can we find that angle? If we can find this angle here, let's call it X. We can find angle B because we have 130 here, and if we find X, then we can add the 130 and X and subtract it from 360. Right? Now, in order to find B, we can use co-interior angles. So X and the 42 are co-interior, so they must add to 180. So if we subtract 42 from 180, we're going to get 138. So let me write it down. So X is equal to 180 minus 42, which is equal to 138. Now, in order to find this angle in here now, we're going to add the 138 and the 130 and subtract it from 360. So this angle in here, let us call it Y. Let's call it Y. That's going to be equal to 360 minus 138 plus 130. And that is going to give us 360 minus, that's 268. 360 minus 268, that is going to give us 92. So this angle right in here is going to be 92 degrees. Right? So now look at what we have. Let me draw the diagram right over here. This is what we have now. We have A, C, B, and we have 92 is in here. We have 15 kilometers is here and 19 kilometers here. So what we have side, angle, side. So we use the cosine rule. So AC squared is equal to 15 squared plus 19 squared minus 2 times 15 times 19 times the cosine of 92 degrees. Right? Now we can get our calculators and enter all of the right hand side in our calculator. So let's get our calculator. So this is 15 squared plus 19 squared minus 2 times 15 times 19, and then with cosine of 92 degrees, and that is going to give us 605.89. so that's AC squared, and then we're going to take the square root now. So AC is going to be the square root of 605.89, which is equal to, so the square root of 605.89, that's equal to 24.6, and let us round it up to a whole number, so it is going to be 25. Right, so the distance between town A and town C is 25 kilometers. Let's put on our kilometers on it before the examiner penalizes us. Alright, so let's look at the next question. Here it says, determine the bearing of town A from town C. So let's go back up to the diagram. Now the bearing of town A from town C. Now C comes after the from, so we're starting at C, right? And we're moving clockwise until we touch the line that connects A and C. So this is the bearing that we need to find. Alright, so let's go back down here. So let us try to redraw the diagram here, because my diagram is a bit messy. So I have something like looking like this. Right? This is 15, this is 19, this is 25, this angle right here is 92, right? This is A, this is B, this is C, and we need to find this bearing here. Let's do our north line, and we need to find this bearing all the way around. In addition to that, we had the bearing up here, C from B, and it is 130, right? So we have most of the information. Now, in order to find the bearing of town A from town C, we need to find this angle right here. We need to find this angle right here, and we also need to find this angle, right? I am going to call this angle, let's call this angle X, and let's call this angle Y. Now, notice, in order to find X, so X is equal to, we have co-interior angles at these 2 points. So X is going to be equal to 180 minus 130, and that is going to give us 50. Right? So that is X. Now, what about Y? In order to find Y, we need to use one of our rules. Right? We can use sine rule. Let's use sine rule. So let us find Y using sine rule. Now, we have the angle of 92 inside. So we can say that sine 92 degrees over 25, because the angle 92 is associated with the 25. And that must be equal to the sine of Y divided by 15. Y is associated with the 15 over here. Now, in order for me to find what is Y, I need to transpose the transpose. So multiply both sides by 15. This 15 cancel this 15. So I'm left with 15 times sine 92 over 25 is equal to sine of Y. So let us work that out in our calculators. So 15 times sine 92, that's equal to 14.99, and then divide that by 25.